Classic Zoom. I was on mute. But hey, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. If people haven't joined us yet, hopefully they'll be able to. But welcome to our last Summer Transition Series webinar for the year. This is Welcome to Duke. I'll let the panelists introduce themselves in a minute, but we have reps from new student programs, international housing assignments. So we're here to help kind of wrap up any lingering questions you have, get questions answered about pre-orientation programs, orientation, international orientation, move-in, all of that. So my name is Casey Johnstone. I'm the Student Development Coordinator in New Student Programs, and I'll kind of let's start with NSP and then we'll shift around. So let's start with Nicole.
Hey everyone, my name is Nicole Pontecorvo and I'm the Assistant Director of New Student Programs. Welcome.
And then Jordan.
Yeah, my bad. Hey, so hi everybody. This is Jordan Hale. I also work in New Student Orientation. We're excited to see you all today. Welcome.
All right, Ezra.
Hi everyone, this is Esther Ausen-Mason. I'm the Associate Director at the International House. So excited to be here with you today.
And then MJ.
Of course you saved the best for last. I'm MJ Williams. I'm the Director of Housing Assignments and Planning. So I'm getting ready to answer all of your housing assignment questions as best as I can.
Yes, yes. So I figured to start, we would kind of give a brief overview, introduction of what I'm sure a lot of your questions are going to be centered on, just to provide some context. I will say it with a caveat of, given the fact that we are still in a global pandemic, there is a lot that is still unknown with COVID. So we will do our best to answer your questions with as much information as we have, but we might not be able to get to everything, and we'll kind of talk through where are some spaces that you can get answers or follow up to like stay updated with things like that. So we'll start with orientation. So this year, orientation is happening in a two-part, orientation will be two parts. The first part will start on July 27th and run through August 9th, 3rd? 7th. Thank you. So that'll be orientation part one. It's going to consist of pre-recorded videos and pre-recorded content that you can watch on your own time. So asynchronous learning, as well as it's a mix of also some affinity spaces that will be happening in real time. We'll have virtual campus tours. We have different affinity spaces with identity centers. We have some sessions with financial aid. So those will be happening in real time throughout those 2 weeks at various times that you're free to just like pop in and join. But the bulk of the content will be the asynchronous pre-recorded videos. So that's orientation part one. Then you'll be moving in. And then orientation part two is, it's still going to be virtual, but it's all going to be in real time. So you'll be given a small group. So you'll be split up into a FAC group, so first year advisory counselor, and there'll be a series of different sessions that you'll be going to with your FAC group. Yeah, and that like those are going to be more community-based, dialogue-based sessions that we thought it would be really valuable for you to be able to do in real time with people, talk about it, get to know people, and also some social events scattered throughout all of that. Nicole, did you want to talk through like what a FAC is and the like pod model, or if Jordan wants to take the pod model?
Sure, yeah, I'll start with what a FAC is. As Casey mentioned, these are first year advisory counselors. They're upper class students who really just want to welcome you and connect with you. Many of them, in fact, like about 90% of them are sophomore students. So they were just in your shoes last year. And so they come with a wealth of knowledge, understanding Duke culture and information, but they're your peers. And so while they're resources and can help direct you to places and offices that can be of support to you and of service, they're also there to be a friend and to be someone you could ask those questions to. So they'll lead small group conversations throughout orientation week virtually. Those will be called fact chats. So they'll range on topics, mostly like Casey mentioned, community building, getting to know each other, connecting. They'll also talk about other important community topics and lead discussions around those, particularly ones that connect to gender violence and being an active bystander. So supporting each other throughout the college experience is a real important piece. And so that'll be one of the chats. And the other will focus on the Do Common Experience book, Know My Name by Chanel Miller, which we're really excited about. And you should be receiving in the mail. I'll put out a caveat. If you received any empty boxes or you still haven't received a book by the end of this week, please email us at studentorientation@duke.edu and we'll help connect you and get you a new copy. So we're sorry about those experiences that have been happening. But yeah, your FAC is just another peer mentor in addition to your resident assistant, your RA, if you choose to live on campus, and other peer leaders around academic advising, so peer advisors for Trinity College and E-team members who are for the Pratt School of Engineering. So that's your FAC, and I'll pass it to Jordan to talk about another layer of your orientation experience, which will include your pod.
Yep. So one of the things that we're really thinking about is that students learn things in different situations and learning styles. And so some people are really good in the small groups. Other people like to have some additional resources available and have the groups be a little bit bigger. And then other people are able to take in information with the entire class of 1,750 students. And so we're trying to find a way to replicate the content that we want to share, particularly related to health and wellness, identity and culture, with a combination of those efforts. And so we're going to put together what we're going to call a pod squad. And the pod squad is going to be 2 university staff members and a member of our first year advisory council executive board. So these are going to be students that are juniors and seniors. And they're going to take you all through your orientation experience in a variety of ways. And so they're going to lead sessions that focus on how we can take care of each other on campus in terms of health and wellness. They're going to lead some pieces about your academic experience on the campus. They're going to lead some pieces about race and identity. And so it's going to be a really neat way to, one, meet other university staff who are here to support you, both in student affairs, as faculty, and also, two, get to connect with upper class students to have some of the discussions in just a little bit different settings. So we're really excited about that. We've been going through training with these university staff members to get them prepared. We started that earlier this week, and we really think it's going to be a good way to not only have the small group conversation with your FAC group, but also be in a little bit bigger group to understand a little bit more broadly what your classmates are talking about as they get ready to start here at Duke.
Awesome, great. And you'll get a pod whether you, and a FAC group, all of that. You'll get a FAC and a pod regardless if you choose to come to stay on campus or whether you choose to learn remotely and stay home wherever that is for you. So the orientation experience will be the same. Like I said, it's all virtual. So regardless of where you are in the world, you will still get that same onboarding experience. Before we dive into questions, want to give Esra an opportunity and MJ an opportunity to kind of give a little overview for them. So let's start with Esra.
Thanks, Casey. So I just want to talk a little bit about the international orientation, which is also virtual this year. As some of you may have already been in touch, International House Orientation Peers, aka IHOPs, have been in touch with y'all, keeping you posted about what's going on. And this week, actually, they started hosting some activities from Q&As to IHOP chats to virtual games. And it's happening this week and also next week. So keep an eye on your email. And if you have any questions about that, don't hesitate to reach out to your IHOPs or to me. I'm happy to share the schedule with you all. And the orientation sessions will be from August 3rd till August 9th. And this will be a time where we will have more focused panels from academics to being an international student at Duke to you know, conversations around virtual learning and how your peer leaders have experienced and what tips they have based on their experiences that they can share with you. And the schedule for August is not up yet, but that will also be shared in an email to you, but also it will be on our website. And if y'all have any other questions, please feel free to send them my way.
Awesome. And MJ?
So we are ready to share your first year housing assignment with you. We anticipate that being tomorrow. There's a couple things behind the scenes that are holding us up a little bit, and we're hoping to have those worked out so that you all can receive your housing assignment tomorrow. As previously stated in some communications, all first year students will be in a single room. First year student athletes will be living with their teams, and some of them will be in double rooms, so they're an exception to the rule. First year students will live on East Campus and on West Campus in buildings in our Cohan, Edens, and Wanamaker quads. So we are excited for this new experience that you guys are going to have this year. Typically, you know that most first year students are placed on East Campus. So it's new and exciting for us too to have you, part of you, join us on West Campus. We are busy with signups for move-in, and I can't tell you a lot about the move-in process, but I can tell you that we are collecting those signups. So if you haven't signed up yet for your move-in time, make sure you do that as soon as possible so that we can get you in the queue with everyone else. I'm sure there's 1,001 questions out there about housing, so I'm just going to give you that brief overview. We're excited to be sending out your assignment tomorrow. Barring any major obstacles, they're going to be there in your duke.edu mailbox tomorrow. So look for those. And I guess, Casey, we can start with some of the questions that they have.
Sure. All right. So y'all are already typing away. Appreciate it. And like I said, some of these we might not know the perfect answer, but we will try and get you connected as best we can to the people who have that answer for you. All right, so first question, is there somewhere we can see what our dorm rooms will look like once we get our housing assignment?
Yes and no. So we do have some information out there for students who are assigned to West Campus, and that includes mostly for West Campus floor plans. We don't have a lot of actual pictures of West Campus, but on the flip side, for East Campus, we have lots of pictures out there on the website for the houses that you're assigned to. We don't have the floor plans. So it's a little bit mix of everything. However, once your assignment goes out and you get back on your Facebook page with your class, upper class students will start directing you where you can find other pictures, because our upper class students love to be able to tell our first year students what their spaces look like. So while we don't have a lot of information, we depend on our student body to provide that information. So look for that in your Facebook page tomorrow. A lot of upper class students will offer you resources that are managed by students instead of housing and residence life.
Awesome. MJ, fair warning, a lot of these questions are going to be directed
That's
to you.
okay. I've
just
got
letting
my
you know.
Gatorade waiting here.
Are there any restrictions on entering dorm buildings that aren't our own?
My understanding is that yes, there will be restrictions. I don't know if they're defined yet. So when you get to campus, you will have access to your residence hall only. And as those parameters are developed, and there may be some of those parameters outlined in the license and terms that comes with your housing assignment tomorrow. But those parameters are being developed even as we speak, but there will be restrictions about where you can and cannot go in the other residence halls that you're not assigned to.
And there are also, I would add on to that, I think we've mentioned it before, but we're developing a Duke Compact, which is essentially an extension of the Duke Community Standard in this time, which kind of talks about, community accountability and responsibility, to make sure that we are maintaining health and wellness for not only you and your peers, but also the staff, the faculty, which includes the housekeepers, the facilities, people who work within dining. So making sure that we are keeping each other safe, and some of those specifics about where you can't travel on campus and wearing masks and different protocols and stuff are going to be outlined in that, in addition to your housing contract. So as soon as that is announced, I'm sure it will be in your digest, and you'll hear about it during orientation. So some of that will be in the compact. There is a question about furniture within rooms. So will Duke be removing extra furniture from rooms for freshmen? Like if you're in a room that was a double, you said that all freshmen will be in singles. Will the extra furniture be taken out, or will it be left in? Can people rearrange, push things together, all that good stuff?
So you guys are probably going to get tired of me saying it depends or yes and no. So for the furniture, it depends. Some furniture we are removing from East Campus, removing half of the furniture from East Campus to use in some of our new satellite locations. But for the most part, we are not removing the extra set of furniture, and we cannot remove that extra set of furniture once you move in. So you're going to have to use both sets of furniture. We just don't have enough storage to remove every set of furniture. We're trying to help out some in removing furniture. It helps us to furnish those satellite locations we have for upper class students, but not all the extra furniture will be removed. And unfortunately, we cannot remove the extra set of furniture if it is left in your assigned space.
Thank you. We have a question on quarantining protocol. So if someone's detected as COVID positive, where will they be quarantined, and how will that situation look like? So I don't know who wants to take that.
I can at least say there are 2 on-campus quarantine areas that if you had to be quarantined for longer than the initial 2-day period, that there are spaces on East Campus that you can be quarantined to. What we've done with students since March is that they've been moved there, and it's actually a pretty nice place to go to be quarantined. You have your own room. They bring you meals, and you can bring whatever you need to kind of suffice for the 14-day period. And then once you're cleared, you can go right back to your space, wherever it's on East or West Campus. There's a lot more detail to it, but that's kind of the general policy that we have. So you are in quarantine, you go to that assigned space and you stay there for the determined length of time, and then you're released to go back to your residence hall.
Could someone talk about contact tracers? Nicole, Jordan, contact tracers?
Yeah, I could talk a little bit about them. So Duke is working to put together a team of contact tracers who would really serve as reference points and individuals who would contact you or someone else in the Duke community should they have had known exposure to someone that tested positive for COVID. And so that person would likely reach out to you via phone and have a conversation with you about, letting you know in general, where you were potentially exposed. They won't share exactly who was the person who tested positive, but they'll then help kind of trace back to who else did the individual who did test positive potentially connect to, so that they can notify those people to take the appropriate measures depending on a lot of circumstances, whether it's quarantining or isolating if you were the person who tested positive. So they would be members of the Duke community who would reach out to you, and you'd follow their instructions and ask questions, and they'd be a reference for you, as well as you, seek to, get better or make sure that you don't infect anyone else.
Great, thank you. We had a question about when will we be, or will we be able to find out who our hallmates are when we receive our housing assignments, so we can start getting to know them before move-in?
So we do not communicate who the hallmates are. That is usually managed on the Facebook pages, and usually the residence halls will create, as soon as people start being assigned to residence halls, they will create additional Facebook pages. So there will be more Facebook pages this year than normally. So once you get your assignment, go to your class Facebook page and then look for information about the different building Facebook pages. And then you'll be able to meet people there and have conversations with them, and feel like you've actually met some people before you get here on campus.
Great, thank you. When do we get confirmation about our move-in date?
So right now we're collecting the dates for everyone that they want to move in, and then we're going to pass that information on to I'm going to call them the COVID-19 team. They do have a formal name to them, but I don't remember what it is, so bear with me as I say this. They're going to take all that information and put it into an app, and then you'll get notified of your move-in day and then be asked to go in and pick a time to move in. And your move in will be part of the COVID testing, getting your keys or your access points for your residence halls, getting your parking pass to get permission to go wherever your loading zone, unloading zone is for that. So there's a couple more steps that need to happen before you have confirmation of your exact date and time. So just bear with us. There's more communication coming out about that as it's developed. And in part, they're waiting on us to send out the housing assignment so that they can move forward with this. So it's going to come pretty fast, pretty quickly, and you're going to have to respond pretty fast and pretty quickly to get into the queue of things.
Thank you. Next question is, will we have a contact tracing app or anything of the like?
So I do know that we're partnering with RedCap to have some type of app where faculty, staff, and students can report every day there's some contact tracing information in there. There's going to be what kind of symptoms do you have, and depending on how you answer these questions, there may be follow-up from the contact tracing team to you. They are actually working with that now with a select group of students, faculty, and staff. I report my information every day, and I know that students that are on campus are reporting their information every day. So yes, there is an app. There will be, again, this is kind of like my mantra, there will be more information coming about that. But yes, there is an app, and it is sponsored by RedCap.
Awesome. Yeah, that was, yep. And that's for anyone who will be on campus. So if you're staying home and you're going to be doing fully online, remote learning, you won't need to be checking your everyday symptoms. It's just for the folks who are going onto campus. Yeah. MJ, can you talk us through what is the deadline? Is there a deadline for declining housing? And what is the process of for someone who wants to not be on campus? Do they have to notify housing assignments? What is that process?
So there is no deadline for declining your housing. So even if you receive your housing assignment tomorrow and you say, yes, I'm confirming this housing assignment, yes, I agree to the license and terms and the addendum that is attached there, you can still come back and cancel your housing. And there's a lot of ways to do that. The best way to do it, though, is to notify your academic dean first and say, you know what, I am not coming to campus. I'm going to do the remote learning, or I'm going to defer for a year. Whatever your situation is, go through your academic dean, drop us an email saying, hey, I talked with my academic dean. I think I'm going to do remote learning instead, or I'm going to defer for a semester. But your academic dean will push that information through the university, and it touches a whole bunch of people. And so we all get notified that if you choose to defer or study remotely, we're notified. But dropping us a line will help too. And then if you come to campus and then decide to leave, you can also do that. Then there's financial implications there too, about how many days you stayed and what kind of refunds you get. So there's kind of two decisions there. One, if you make that decision before you come to campus, it's kind of easy and it's done via email. If you make that decision after you come to campus, there's a whole moving in, moving out component of it. And then we work with you to get you refunds for your housing as well as for your dining plans.
And if they choose ahead of time to stay home, will they be charged for housing?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify.
Just verbally saying, no, if you do not step on campus, you will not be charged for housing. We will reverse those charges on your bursar's account.
Okay. Let's see. There are some questions. There are some questions on here that I don't think anyone in this space can answer. So I don't mean to just completely ignore them. I just want to name that we don't have representatives from those departments. So there was a question about how are clubs and organizations going to work, how are intramurals going to be impacted, are certain spaces on campus going to be open. So at this time, at least this group of people doesn't have the answer for that, or the answers for that. So I don't want you to, I see the questions and they're valid questions, but I don't quite have a response. If you're worried about specific, or if you're thinking about specific things, so like if you're interested in intramurals or like clubs and orgs, I would reach out directly to those offices and we can work to try and type out like links or email addresses to contact. But I just don't want you thinking I'm completely ignoring those questions, because they're valid. We just don't have answers to those right now, right here. Let's see. There's a question about, so once we move in, so they'll be given a specific move-in window, like a time slot. And there's a process where they'll be going to Pavilion and getting tested. So once we move in, are we expected to only leave our dorms for the bathroom and other necessities until we get our test results back?
So my understanding from a conversation we had this morning is that we're asking students to stay within their residence hall space for 2 days until they get their testing back. You can still go out and get something to eat. You can still use the restroom, but that's what we're asking you to limit yourselves to. And while you do those things, we're asking you to practice social distancing. So wearing your mask, staying, at least 6 feet apart, not congregating together. So it's not like you're going to starve or anything, and it's not, and yes, you can use the bathroom. So, but it's going to be very specific, and you'll get more information about that before you get to campus, as well as it'll be reiterated for you once you arrive to campus. Nicole, Jordan, anything, Ezra, anything more from that conversation this morning?
Not that I can remember specifically, MJ. I was actually wondering which one you were talking about, the town hall. So not specifically that I can remember.
Okay.
I mean, I think a lot of it comes down to like community responsibility and common sense in a way of just like do your best to try and limit your impact. That's all what social distancing, physical distancing, whatever you would like to call it, is just reducing your impact until we know for sure that you're cleared and good, and that way we're not spreading anything or just trying to limit that. Let's see, next question. There's a question about 30 Days to Duke. When will we hear about 30 Days to Duke, if that is happening this year? So in case you aren't familiar, 30 Days to Duke is traditionally a video series, and we count down. Typically, it's a countdown to move in. So we roll it out and we post a new video every single day. A lot of it is like informational. It shows space size on campus. It's all produced by, and like the content is created by peers, so by the fact group. And so we will be having 30 days this year, like a 30 Days to Duke countdown. It's not going to look the same. So a lot of the content that we have produced previously shows life on campus as normal. And as you can imagine, life on campus is not going to be what it typically has. And a lot of spaces are still figuring out what that is going to look like. So we didn't want to give false expectations of what campus will look like. But we still want to make sure that you know that we are excited to welcome you. And we still want to do a countdown because countdowns are always fun. So we are going to be doing a countdown to the first day of class, which is August 17th. And it's going to be kind of a mix of media. So there might be some quotes, there might be some videos, there might be some game nights. Who knows? You'll find out very shortly. So yeah. Let's see. Next question. Will there be facts to help us move in? Nicole, you're muted.
Hi. So no, there won't be facts to move in this year. So in the past, that has been the procedure, but due to social distancing, that really would go against keeping everyone in the community safe. So your facts will be there to provide support virtually, but not to lift any of your belongings. So you may want to keep that in mind when you're determining what to pack, what to bring, and really only focus on the essentials, the things that you or the person that's coming with you to help you move in can carry manageably.
Awesome, thank you. Is the Blue Devil delivery catalog still happening this year? Does anyone on this space know that?
It should be. Somebody else asked us before in an email question that I got. It should be. It's still on our Blue Book pieces, and it is. I was talking with the team on Blue Devil delivery the other day, so I believe the answer is yes. But they have in bluebook.duke.edu, and I'll put this in the chat. They have their own page, so if you go and there's a link to take you to Blue Devil delivery. They can provide those answers directly, but from what we understand, the answer is yes.
Awesome. We have a question about how will student mental health be fostered during the 2-day quarantine while waiting for test results?
Yeah, I flagged it down in case I actually tried to type a response, but I clicked the wrong button, so we'll answer it live. This is certainly on everybody's mind. As student affairs professionals, this is something that we think about all the time, and how do we support our students in a variety of ways. It's why we have our responsibilities on campus. So it will of course be on our brains. I know that within the residence halls and virtually, we're thinking about what things can be offered so that people aren't just sitting in their rooms their entire time by themselves, just kind of waiting for this result sort of in anxiety. So know that people are thinking about it. It's why we structure our orientation the way that we have. We're trying to put a lot of different things together to be as thoughtful as we can. And so it's on our brains, and we're working on it, and make the decision to come, which we hope you do. We're going to make sure we do everything we can to make sure you have a quality experience. in the midst of a, global pandemic. So, but it certainly is on our brains.
And I will say a lot of student groups will be hosting events during that time. I know our office is partnering with Do Arts for some things, also DUU to host like social events in the evenings. So there's going to be opportunities to connect as far as mental health on the side of trying to prevent feelings of isolation or loneliness. And also there's a lot of people who are here who want to see you succeed. And so if there's ever a moment where like you need to talk to somebody, or 2 days by yourself can be a lot. So if you ever need to like talk to somebody, know that people's doors are always open. And so we'll do our best to do that, but we're going to also be doing social activities so that you're getting to know your hallmates and everybody while safe. We had a couple questions about continuity between fall and spring for you, MJ. So will I have the same dorm room in the fall as in the spring? Do we have to pack all of our things in November and clear the dorm, or can we leave some items there?
Ideally, everyone will stay where they are from the fall semester to the spring semester. And no, you do not have to pack up your stuff in November and take it with you and then bring it back in mid-January. We fully expect students to leave everything there. We are going to ask you to clean up your room before you leave, because that's, almost 2 months worth of vacancy time. So we're going to ask to make sure you clean your room before you leave, so we don't get any unwanted guests over the winter break. The only reason that you would have to change rooms is if you went through a room change process, and we aren't even anywhere near discussing a room change process yet for this new and interesting fall semester we have coming up on us. And the other thing is we may have some other students joining us for the spring semester. So you may get a new neighbor across the hall or next to you, next to your room, with students who may have deferred for the fall and are coming back for the spring. But for all intents and purposes, where you move in on whatever your move-in date is in August, you will stay there until May.
And you kind of just touched on this, but there was another question that says, if we choose to stay home for the fall semester, will we be guaranteed housing in the spring semester if we decide to come to campus?
We are going to do our best to get everyone into housing for the spring semester that may not have been here for the fall. It just depends on, first and foremost, what is going on with COVID and how that's impacting Duke and Durham and North Carolina. So yes, we anticipate welcoming students who deferred or did remote learning in the fall to campus in the spring semester. At this point in time, I can't make a strong statement about guaranteed housing because we still don't even know how many people will be in residence for the fall semester. So we are anticipating it. We will make plans for it, and we will welcome as many people as we can for the spring semester.
Thank you. And I do want to go back to a question, the mental health question, because that's really important. Esra mentioned in the chat that the International House Orientation Peers, so IHOPs, they'll also be offering mentorship program with like social and individual activities during that time. So if you're looking for someone to connect to, that's another avenue, and you don't have to be an international student in order to interact with the IHOPs or visit International House or connect with their staff or anything. It's open to everybody. So just wanted to plug that real quick because I know she mentioned that. There are quite a few questions about classes and whether, like, what percentage of classes are going to be virtual and having that kind of being a deciding factor for whether or not people come onto campus. Jordan, do you know what that looks like, or kind of could you take a stab at that response?
Sure. The answer is that we aren't sure. We know that the reason that registration had to be redone is because, we have to look at our space, literally our physical space, and see how we can set up and assign classrooms and how many students can be in a classroom at a time. And so it's been a lot of sort of project management to get that figured out. And then we also have to think through which faculty are going to prefer to teach their classes live versus which ones are going to want to teach their classes virtually. So all that information is being compiled as we speak. And that's why the book bagging process is going to open again on July 27th for students. And when that book bagging process opens, information about how a class is going to be offered will hopefully be made available during that time, so you can see when you book bag a class. And then your actual registration for incoming first years will be on the 11th and 12th of August, when you actually take classes from your book bag and enroll in them. So just know the university is working on it now, and we're trying to give ourselves as much time as we can to really make the best assessment, to think through. I would imagine classes will be taught in some sort of hybrid. So some days the class you will be able to attend it live, other days we'll be asking you to watch it virtually, and then have discussion sessions that can be in smaller sections for our larger classes. So it's a massive puzzle. It's a big old game of Tetris. I know I'm dating myself with that. You probably don't know what Tetris is, but it's a big game of Tetris and putting the puzzle together. So go look it up if you don't know, because Tetris is awesome. But yeah, so that's what they're looking to do now to make it all work.
Awesome, thank you. MJ, I'm not sure if you might know the answer to this, but there's questions about, so it's been announced that folks can have two guests help them move in. So kind of what is that process? Are they allowed to stay the 48 hours while the student is waiting for their test results? Are they only allowed to stay for that one day? Are they allowed to walk around campus? Like, what can those guests do after they help move in?
So those are awesome questions. I know that the intent is for the two guests to assist with the move-in process. If those guests are choosing to stay in Durham while you are quarantined in your residence hall, they're going to be essentially quarantined away from you. That's the essence of that quarantine. So if you go through the process and you get moved into your room, once you're done moving into your room, your quarantine is going to start. And that means that no guests, no outside people coming in until you get your test back. So there's going to be a lot more detail about that, about who your guests are, what your guests have to do. But the expectation right now on campus is that anybody that comes to campus should be wearing a mask, should be practicing social distancing, and those expectations are going to remain in effect and maybe have some more added parameters to them. But remember, when you're in your 2-day quarantine, it means that you are quarantined from everyone, not just your hallmates, not just your RA, but from everyone until you get your test results back.
Thank you. So there's a question, an interesting question. I understand that we're given a certain time for the move-in date later in the month. Is there any way that we can request a time, or what should we do if we can't make that time frame? And then they mentioned that they're flying and like flight times. So how should someone handle that?
So there will be a process for people who get caught up in whether it's traffic or flight delays, or you just kind of forgot when your move-in day and time was. There will be a process for that. You may have to wait until the end of the process to do that. So like if you were planning on moving in on, I don't know, August 7th, and for some reason you weren't able to make it, you may have to wait till the end of the process, which is going to be the 16th or 17th. So if you do have an issue, once the schedule, the day and time schedule is set, there will be a contact entity, someone, a group that you will contact if you have problems. And even the day of your move-in, if you're having issues, there's going to be a way to reach out to this COVID-19 team, because I can't remember what their real name is, the COVID-19 team, and say, hey, I'm stuck in wherever airport, or we're stuck on whatever highway, we're not going to make it, or I totally forgot I was supposed to move in today. There are going to be ways that we can work with you to make sure that you do get to campus at some point in time and get checked in.
Awesome, thank you. There were a couple of questions about if they live in state or if they live near campus, are they allowed to commute from home? Would that be the same process as just saying that they're not going to be living on campus?
Yes. That it's somewhat remote learning, somewhat quote unquote living off campus. I would say make sure you have that discussion with, make sure you know that's the decision you want to do, and then talk with your academic dean about it. And then once you make a final decision, again, you can process that information through the academic dean and just email us and let us know what you're doing. But just so everybody knows that the release information, so if you want to study remote or you want to take a deferral, that application submittal is still live on the housing portal. You can go in there at any point in time and change your mind and fill out your new kind of living arrangements, if you will, for the fall semester. And if you've decided not to come to campus and have changed your mind, there's a process to get around that as well. So we are being as flexible as we can with you guys and making up your mind, because it's a big decision. And you know, a lot of us on the screen today, the staff-wise, haven't been on campus for months, since March. So, you know, we're feeling some of that anxiety that you guys are feeling about returning to campus as well. So I would just say, make sure you're doing what you feel is the best thing for you for this fall semester. And if it's being here on campus, we are going to welcome you with open arms and celebrate you being here. And if it's not being on campus, we're still going to celebrate you being a part of the Duke community. But just make sure you're doing what feels best for you.
Very well said. Yeah, all of the same questions, concerns, anxieties, feelings that you all are feeling and experiencing, I guarantee you all of the staff are feeling as well. So you're not alone in this at all. So there was a question, and we had talked about it a little bit. Will there be any requirement for students and guests to be COVID tested before arriving on campus? So that's just part of the move-in process this year. When you arrive, you'll go to Penn Pavilion and do like a symptom check with student health. You'll receive a mask, a thermometer, and then you'll actually be COVID tested, and your Duke card won't be activated for like dining hall, food points, access to your dorm until you do your COVID test. I know there had been questions previously about what happens if you do the COVID test before you arrive. But I think what we've come down to is you have to physically do it on campus when you arrive, because there are a lot of factors that can influence that. If move-in is August 7th through 10th and classes start August 17th, what are students expected to do between August 10th and August 17th? And the answer is orientation. No, so after you move in, you'll have your 2 days of quarantine just to make sure that everything's good, healthy, safe. We also want to make sure that you have some time to get settled in your new space, but then August 13th through August 16th will be orientation. We touched on it a little bit earlier, but that will be virtual, but live in real time sessions that you'll be participating in. So you'll be doing orientation and it'll be super fun. Virtual, but super fun.
I'll say, Casey, you're being, a little bit facetious, but it's true. Like our expectation, and we're working really hard to create an environment where you can build a team, you can start connecting with a family. If you're here on campus, or even if you're not here on campus, like there's a lot of thought going into the sessions, the processing, the content to really help you feel welcomed in a time where that can feel very difficult. A lot of the answers and responses to things of what you cannot do. And what we think we're providing with this virtual orientation experience is what you can do to meet your peers, to connect with those on your hall, to connect with those virtually, and just kind of know what's going to be out there and what students are here to help support you, what staff are here to help support you. So we promise that we have a schedule full of academic advising opportunities, times to talk with peers about identity, times to discuss your summer reading book. There's a lot that's going to help you feel like this can be your home away from home until we get back to some sort of normalcy. So we look forward to seeing you then.
Yeah. It truly has been a cross-campus effort to make sure that even though we're not going to be physically in person, that it will still be the same energy and welcome with things to do. So let's see. Next question. There's a lot of questions on how the bathroom situation is going to work, communal bathrooms, all of that. MJ, I'm not sure if you have a response to that, but this is definitely a theme that we can take back to the HRL team. I'm sure they're thinking about it, but I don't know if anything has been announced or, yeah.
Well, I can share some information. So the reason that all the first year students are in single rooms is several fold, I guess. But one of them is for the de-densification of people in the residence halls and the number of people using different toilets, showers, sinks, that type of thing. So we've drastically reduced that number. And then we reduced it some more. So in some areas, you may almost have your own private sink, private toilet, and private shower. And it'll be something that the RAs will address once everybody has been moved in. And there'll probably be some more information that comes out prior to your arrival. I know one thing that we're going to do is post schedules of when the housekeepers will be cleaning the restrooms. And we're going to ask students not to enter the restrooms when the housekeepers are cleaning those restrooms for your safety as well as our housekeeping staff safety, because they're going to be moving between floors. And so they're going to ask that students refrain from using the restrooms during that time. It takes them maybe a half hour to clean the bathroom every day. And you can divert to another restroom if you need to. It will be a discussion point in your hall floor meetings, and there will be expectations around the use of the restroom facilities. They're going to be cleaned on a regular, continued basis, and all of our housekeeping staff are practicing social distancing, wearing masks, using the appropriate cleaning materials. I mean, they really are the champions in all of this, and that they've been working nonstop since we all went home, and they've still been on campus cleaning bathrooms, cleaning residence halls. So they've got this clean thing down, so there's no need to worry about that. As for who uses what, when, and where, that will be determined once we get some more information and once you get to campus.
Thank you. I'm like trying to go through and mark them all. There are a lot of bathroom questions.
So as you look, Casey, I'm going to give a housing and residence life disclaimer.
Okay, yes.
This is where we are today.
Mm-hmm.
So we are, as a university, we're watching national trends, state trends, local trends, Duke trends. This is where we are today. So I may tell you something today, and tomorrow you may hear something different announced through the official channels of Duke. Always go with the most recent information. Don't say, well, MJ Williams told us, because that's the reality today. You know, I'll let you guys in on a secret. We had your first year housing assignments done once already, and then our parameters changed again, and we redid all of the housing assignments. So we know very well that things can change from day to day. So that's my disclaimer, is what I'm saying to you today is what we know is truth today. That may be different tomorrow, and it may be completely different when the first of you start arriving on August 7th.
Yeah, I think there were a couple of questions that I was scrolling. One asked, you know, will it be possible to be sent home similar to how students were sent home in March? So there was that. And then there was also, if conditions improve, is it a possibility that restrictions would be lifted? And honestly, at this point, like, anything is possible, right? If things worsen, at the end of the day, Duke is gonna want to make sure that the health and safety of students, faculty, and staff is all being maintained. So whether that means, you know, potentially sending people home, or if it's getting better and we're able to lift, like, no one knows what that's going to look like. So truly anything is possible. And I know that is not helpful, and that's not the answer that you want. It's not the answer that, like, I want. But I wanted to, because I realized we're at time. I know we have a ton of questions that we were not able to get to. So part of what we're going to do is, when the webinar closes, it saves all of the questions. And so I'm going to be working on compiling a list to make sure that we're sharing it, especially the questions that we don't have folks represented right here, just so that your questions are being lifted up to them, so that they know these are the things that are on your mind, the answers that you're looking for. And I do want to share 2 resources for you, which I'm sure you've probably seen already or maybe heard about. Let me switch screens real quick. Okay, so there are 2 things. There is this Duke Keep Learning. So as information about COVID comes out and Duke's response, Keep Learning is a great place if you have a question, or like, hey, I'm wondering about this thing. This is a great landing spot. They have a very, very robust frequently asked questions page, because as people start asking similar questions, they get updated to the FAQ page. So there's resources, there's the different strategies for learning, different strategies for staying well. So Keep Learning. And there's also it's also an email address. So if any of these questions or if you have any lingering questions after this that are related to COVID specifically, you can email the Keep Learning team, and they will get back to you with the most recent, the most updated information that they have, or point you into who you can be contacting for that. So that's one, Keep Learning. The other one is this Duke United. And this truly, it's like Keep Learning, but it's really focused on the transition back to campus. So it talks about the different public health measures, the way that we plan to phase the return to campus. And then kind of what I mentioned earlier, the Duke Compact, this piece about community responsibility. So what are some of the safety precautions that we're taking to make sure that everyone is doing well? Yeah, and it breaks it down for like students, faculty, staff, and then also news and updates. So I know that there are many questions that we were not able to get to, but please check out these 2 websites. I will make sure to take every single one of your questions, whether we answered it or not, and share it with upper leadership and with folks who are not in this space right now, to make sure that they know what is on your mind, because all of your questions are really valid. And I wish we had more answers for you. I wish we knew everything to tell you. So But with that, I'm going to be mindful of time, and we're probably going to call it here. If you think of anything else and you want to reach out to us directly, studentorientation@duke.edu. That is the new student programs email. We will try and connect you as best as possible, but really for COVID stuff, Keep Learning is going to be the greatest place to start. But thanks for joining us. Hopefully this was at least somewhat helpful. But we're really, really excited to welcome you soon. You are almost a month away from starting college. Let that sink in. It might not be what you anticipated it to look like, but you are almost a month away, and it's super exciting, and it's a really special time. So congratulations, and we'll see you soon.
Bye, everyone.